Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hallelujah. We thank the Most High for allowing us to be here today. Thank Him for how He has brought us all together once again, just to come together in the name of Yahuah and just fellowship with one another, break bread with one another. We thank the Most High for how He's carried you all, including myself, throughout the year. We're coming to the close of the Greco-Roman calendar year. And you know what? I can truly say that the Most High has been really, really good to me this year. I haven't had to go to the hospital, I haven't had to go bury anybody, got my life, health, and strength, and I thank the Most High for these things. A lot of times we take these things for granted, but I thank the Most High for that, and just thank the Most High for just seeing each and every last one of you, your beautiful faces. Thank the Most High for all of our guests and visitors. Thank the Most High for our more Neyhemyah and some of his following being here today. We appreciate y'all coming out, being with us, because when you come here, you're home. Y'all are guests. You come here, you're home. And I just thank the Most High for my babies, because they have grown up, y'all. I looked at Zamora, Lady, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, wow, they have grown. We just thank Ariana, she's turned into a little lady. Just thank the Most High just for everybody and everything. We just want you to know I love each and every last one of you. And thank the Most High for that prayer from our key just prayed. He said something key. We need to be more mindful that we should reach out to each other when you don't see somebody. We've been coming to the congregation, you don't see your brother or your sister. Reach out and let them know you're thinking about it. Find out, see if something's going on, see if they need some assistance or something. And we just thank the Most High for that, and thank the Most High for our senior More Kasadaba. Thank the Most High for his Akoti, Akoti Sadiqa. Appreciate you being here with us. And let me tell you something. You talking about somebody love y'all. I look forward to this. It makes my day when I come here and see y'all faces. This is what carries me through the rest of the week. Because, once you go on these jobs and stuff, everybody's not like-minded. Now, I will say, I'm fortunate, you won't believe, at Emory University, there's a lot of Israelites that are awake that work with me. So that's a good thing, but it's not like that everywhere. But, when I come here and I fellowship with you all on Shabbat, this is what carries me throughout the week. And I don't take these things for granted. I count it favor when we can just come in here from Shabbat to Shabbat and we can see the same faces. Nobody's missing. You know what I'm saying? We haven't had to go eulogize anybody, anything like that. So, I just thank the Most High for these things. And without any further ado, we're going to get into the lesson. So we started out with this teaching, observing the times. And I was pointing out some things, how it's important and it's imperative that you understand the times that we are living in. You cannot walk around with your eyes wide shut. You cannot do that. And so we started out talking about what's taking place over in the land of Yashra'al, and the decision to make Jerusalem the capital of the state of Israel, or what have you. And so that has caused a lot of uproar. And we also started talking about the time of the Greek, because that's very important. We're going to hammer that. We're going to keep looking at that, because it's very important that you understand what's going on. It's very important. Somebody help morale. And it's very important that you realize the system that we are living in. And I had a conversation with someone on the job Thursday night. and we were talking about the times we're living in, and we were talking about, she was talking about the Christmas holiday and what she's getting ready to do and how she has to go prepare and all that. And I was like, she said, I know you don't celebrate Christmas. I said, you're right. And she was like, well, it's about the season. I said, yeah, but what season? She knows the season of his birth. I said, really? I said, you know, it would have been impossible for Mashiyach to have been born in what, December? I said, you know, that would have been impossible. He would not have been born in December. I said, because, you know, he fulfills the Moedim, the prophecies, and December is not a season that they would have recognized or he would have come in. I said, now, when we go back and look at the story of the birth of Mashiyach, I said, I know they told that he was born in a manger. I said, but we know that it was during the time, or it would have been around Sukkot. He was in a Sukkot, not a manger. And I said, now, you need to know the importance of why you're given the date December 25th. I said, are you familiar with the winter solstice? She said, no. I said, what is that? I said, now think about this. I said, now, they gave you the name Jesus. I said, now that sounds good. I said, here's the problem. I said, the letter J is only about 450, 460 years old, roughly 500 years old. I said, so Mashiyach Yahusha walked the earth approximately 2,000 years ago. The letter J did not exist, so what would have been his name? It would not have been Jesus. And now, when it comes to the rules of grammar and all, I said that you can transliterate a proper name, but you cannot translate a proper name. Now, transliteration means, I don't care where we go in the world, when it comes to that name, the pronunciation stays the same. Now, so when you see that, I said, now we get back to the winter solstice, remember all of this stuff comes from somewhere. I said, now, they teach you that Jesus died on a Friday, was raised on a Sunday. You have a three-day process right there. I said, what you have to realize is the winter solstice takes place roughly around the 23rd of December. That's when the sun goes to its most southernest point. 3 days later, what takes place? It goes to its most what? Northernest point. When it goes to its most southernest point, that's the shortest day of the year. The day is short, or those days are short. But when it goes to its northernest point, which takes place the 25th, you have the 23rd, the 24th, the 25th. This is why they tell you Jesus died on a Friday, and 3 days what later he was what? He rose again on what day? S-U-N day. Now, what do they call the 25th of December? It's called the winter solstice. That day is called what? Christmas. The rebirth of the sun. I'll say it again. The rebirth of the sun. That's very important because I'm trying to show you all of this stuff ties in together. And I also begin to explain to you now, when it comes to the Greeks, you have to always remember, there were many of their deities that they placed the Zeus on. When it comes to Jesus, or they want to say Jesus, but it's Jesus. Zeus, and you can ask any Greek historian, Zeus and Jesus are the same deity. And they don't hide that. They are the exact same deity. So all of that, we're going to look at something, and we're going to see that, remember last week when I was talking about how when you look at the nations that had world dominance, and when you look at the history of the nations in the scriptures, how we had the Egyptians, we had the Babylonians, we had the Assyrians, the Medo-Persians, and how when we get to Malachi, the last book in the, what we would call the Old Testament, or the Tanak, you have the Medo-Persian kingdom ruling. All of a sudden, it jumped from the Medo-Persians, it bypasses the Greeks, and go where? To the Romans. But we also found out last week that what? Greco-Roman culture is what we have throughout the earth today. Western culture does what? It dominates throughout the earth today. So, let's go read something right quick. Matter of fact, let's look at 1 Maccabees 10. I know I got my brothers and sisters in with their seafood. You got first Maccabees?
First what?
1 Maccabees, first chapter, the 10th verse. You got a year.
Yahuah one is
Maccabees.
Maccabees. Oh, okay. I got that too though.
You said 1 and 10? Yeah. First Maccabees, the first chapter. We're gonna start at the 10th verse. See, Yearman voice is loud. Him and Moray got voices that care. Gabar loud too, but he
110, right?
Yeah.
Let me know when you're ready for me to go.
Y'all have the same?
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Give a little volume to our.
And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem.
Stop right there. It said, from these great wicked offshoots, mine might read a little different than yours. Antiochus, some people say Antiochus, but I say Antiochus, Epiphanes, son of King Antiochus, once a hostage in Rome. Now, what we have to understand about the Romans, is anyone familiar with how the Romans became Romans and who they were before they became Romans?
Greeks.
They were what?
Greeks.
They were Greeks. Coty looked at me like, huh? Yeah, the Romans were Greeks. Now, the thing what y'all have to understand about Greece and Greeks, when you deal with the people called the Grecians, Grecians were not Greeks. Does anyone have an apocrypha? Not apocrypha, does someone in this area? But anyway, when you read that, you're going to find out Grecians were actually Israelites. The Grecians was Israelites that migrated into that land, who were living there before the Indo-Europeans went down into the land and conquered them, and they became known as Greeks. When you go look up, it's going to tell you the Grecians were what? The people of the diaspora. What people are the people of the diaspora? Yashra'al, the dispersed. Now, it said, he became king in the year 107. No, I'm sorry, y'all. It said, from these grew a wicked offshoot, Antiochus Epiphanes, son of King Antiochus, once a hostage in Rome. He became king in the 107th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. It said, it was then that there emerged from Yashra'al, now pay attention to this next phrase, a set of renegades who led many people astray. Come, they said, very important, let us go and make a covenant with Gentiles surrounding us. For since we separated ourselves from them, many misfortunes have overtaken us. Now, that's why it's very important to understand what's going on around you today. Do y'all not know, y'all don't find it strange that we have people who have come up in the struggle. They know the plight of our people, what we have gone through. They know the plight of our people, what we are going through at the very present. But y'all don't find it strange that a lot of times we go into these establishments, especially these academic systems, we get what is called an education. That education, then we can take that, because let me tell you something about a degree. Only thing you have done is pay for and bought yourself a place within their system. That's all you have done. And when you get into this system, guess what happens? You feel like you're a little bit better than who? Tyrone, Junebug, Ray Ray. All before all of the years, you come up, you were just, you were eight boo-boos, as they say. You were just, those were your brothers. You know what I'm saying? When you went to lunch, when it was lunchtime, you all sat down and you had lunch together. Now you've got something, you feel like it has elevated you to a place you were above them and you're a little bit better than them. Now, when it's time to go into the cafeteria or the dining facility, you sit with Biff, Poindexter. You know what I'm saying? Because now you feel what? You feel that you have a status. All before, when you were in the struggle, you didn't have. Now you're in a position, you see you can what? Obtain, you can gain, you can have. So now what happens? The more you have, the more you want. And so guess what? In order to get more, you have to climb where? Within that system. And when you climb within that system, guess what happens? It pulls you more and more away from who you are. Now you'll start what? Identifying with another group. And you'll begin to look back, and next thing you know, you forgot, you left your brothers. Only thing I do, look at the story of Moshe. Moshe was highly educated. I don't care what they say, he had a speech impediment. That man was raised in the house of the pharaohs. They didn't raise dummies. He was highly educated. But one day he had an awakening. He saw the mistreatment and how his brother was treated. And what happened? He began to look back and realize, my people are suffering. He had an awakening. And so when we look at this system, what you're going to see is you have a lot of people because of wealth, and a lot of people because of riches and what they call the bling and tangible things and just things they can have. They have left the fold. And it's going to be hard to get them back. Now, if this is what they said, come let us make a what? Covenant with the Gentiles? Surrounding us? For since we separate ourselves, what? From them, we've had many misfortunes. So now, Y'all can find it strange. You got all of these hip-hop artists and rappers, entertainers, making millions and millions of dollars. And they can look at it, and they can see your plight. They can see what's happening to you in the world. See how you get gunned down in the street. See the poverty that you're living in. But you'll find it strange that they're nowhere to be found. They don't even try to help their people. When that stuff takes place, when our young men and women are getting gunned down in the street, you don't see these entertainers coming forward. Why? Because they're controlled by somebody else. It's the same thing happening right here. That's a let them make a pact with them. Y'all don't believe they made a pact with these people, do you?
They don't identify with us anymore.
They don't identify with us anymore. And y'all will find it strange. How is it every entertainer, every rapper, every actor, actress, how is it that they have to marry somebody outside of their nation? Do y'all not know they arrange these marriages and they set up these things? Because guess one thing, when you go back to Psalm 83, it said the nations that hate you have what? What does Psalm 83 say?
Some of us cut them off from being a
It
nation.
said let us cut them off from being a nation that what?
That the name
The
Israel
name Israel being no more in remembrance. Now let me tell y'all something. You can be anything you want to in this kingdom. But one thing you cannot be is united. This is why the Most High has to pull the nation of Yashra'al out. Because guess what you can't have? And it is laid out so beautifully in the scriptures. You cannot have a house within a house. You cannot have a nation within a nation. A house within a house is called what? Home. Do y'all know where the word Babel comes from? You said home. That's what the word Babel is. It's confusion. Let me tell you something. If I go in Moray's house, Moray Cassava house, he has already laid what? Out there what? The rules and regulations and the laws of how his house operates. So if he has a son, he says, son, I need you to go do this. And I want you to do it at this time and do it this way. Now, if he invite me into his home and I hear that conversation, I'm privy to that conversation, he said, you know, Rory, I need to run down the street to the store. I'll be right back. He just wait here till you get back. And I go to his son, I say, hey, you know what, young man? You know, you ain't really got to do that way. I said, man, if you do it this way, you can get it done faster. And you can go back and chill and just go play your Xbox. So what have I done?
Caused division.
That I've caused division. I've usurped the authority of his home. That's why you cannot have a house within a house. If you go break the word Babel down in Hebrew, that's what you get. A house within a house. And one of them houses have what? Usurped the strength or the authority of the other house. And now you have utter confusion. And that's what has happened. That's why the Most High has to pull the nation of Yahshua out. That's why he said what? Be ye in the world, but not of it. He told you to sever yourselves, cut yourselves off from the nations. He didn't say not to be cordial with the nations. He never told you that. You're in somebody else's kingdom, so you have to know how to act and you have to know how to carry yourself. That's why even on our job, I don't care how much I know of Yashra'al. Yashra'al don't own that company. So I have to abide by that man's rules. You know what I'm saying? He tell me to be there at 6:30. I'll be there at 6 o'clock. They tell me if you're on time, you're already late. So we have to know that. And so when you see this, you see all of these things going on in the earth. You see these people. they all are forced to marry outside of the nation. You see, when they see these things that take place with your people, none of them come to what? The forefront and proud against it. Because you know what? Because they're controlled, they're owned by somebody else. But we don't want to believe these things. And this is what has happened within the nation of Yashra'al. Whether it be politics, I look at sometimes, this one guy, and I'm going to call his name, Sheriff David Clark. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with him. Let me tell y'all something. That man, he said everything that happened to us, he's like, it's our fault. When we get gunned down in the street, it's our fault. The cop is right. The cop is not at fault. I'm like, okay then. And I'm like, you know what? And this is what has happened right here. We'll read it, y'all. And this is what I'm trying to show you. It was Greek then, and when you realize what has happened, you're going to realize it's Greek now. Now watch this. It says, surrounding us for since we separate ourselves from the many misfortunes that have overtaken us. The proposal proved acceptable, and a number of the people eagerly approached the king, who authorized them to what? Practice the Gentile observances. And that's what we have going on today. And I tell a lot of people all the time, like the lady I was talking to Thursday, I said, let me tell you something. When your ancestors got here, they didn't know anything about Christianity. I said, that's something that had to be taught and instilled and imparted in them. That was something that was beat into them. They didn't know that. Because you know they didn't know it because when they was in the country, one day saying Kumbaya. So you know they didn't know anything about that. You don't find it strange they weren't calling on Jesus? They were saying Kumbaya. And I tell people, I said, you got to know. And I said, wake up, y'all, wake up. Let me tell you something what's going on. Our people have really been blinded. They are in a condition of slumber. They are asleep, and it just, I don't understand it. I was trying to show that. I spoke to the young lady. I said, let me tell you something. I said, you don't find it strange that the slave and the slave master was serving the same deity? I said, how come the slave outprayed, outsang, outpraised the slave master, and all the thing they were? They couldn't hear from Elohim. But the slave master doing all of this wickedness, killing, raping, stealing, they just accumulating wealth, living lavish lives, living like kings and queens. I said, but you know, and I said, you know, they're serving the same deity, right? I said, they both praying to Jesus. They both serving Jesus. They both praising Jesus. And I'm using that name because that's the name they had. So, I said, so what was so different about the person that was doing all that wickedness and how they were able to obtain all that prosperity and wealth? And I said, the people that were not doing anything, but just working all day, trying to survive, most of their time was what? Praying and singing for deliverance. So what was it about this group that they suffered so much, but this group doing all of the wickedness, they seem to have been what y'all call blessed and got all the wealth? And she never thought about that. I said, but you see, they both praying to the same distance. This is why I'm telling you, this stuff was given to you, it was forced on you, it was taught you, embedded in you for a reason. Because they're still Greeks. You still calling on Zeus. Because that's who he is. Nothing has changed. And we're going to see this now. Let's keep going. And a number of the people eagerly approached the king, who authorized them to practice the Gentile observance. So they built what? A gymnasium in Jerusalem, such as what the Gentiles have. Anybody know what a gymnasium is?
Stadium, basketball.
Really bad fitness. Okay, do y'all know the purpose of a gymnasium?
Entertainment.
Was it for entertainment?
To exercise naked.
Is to exercise, say it again, off.
To exercise naked.
Is to exercise naked. That's what gymnasium means. It means to exercise naked.
That's why in gyms, you wear very minimal clothing. And all your
And
exercise.
they the Greek weren't wearing any clothes, because let me tell y'all something.
And they still don't.
And it's still don't.
That's
And it's the same thing. They carried those, the Romans carried those same traditions because they were the same people. Are y'all familiar with the Roman bathhouses? Do y'all not know, even when it comes to homosexuality, that particular act, what's the slang name for? What do they call it? Do they not call it what?
Okay.
Y'all tripping. Y'all never heard the phrase? We're sticking with the lesson. Y'all ever heard the phrase doing it Greek style?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
I heard it.
Yeah. But we're sticking, we're staying clean and kosher, y'all. I mean, we're grown people here. That little baby laugh like, she called like, but we see how all of this stuff, even what's going on today, it's all going back somewhere. It said they built gymnasium in what? Jerusalem or Yahusha, such as the Gentiles have. Disguise their circumcision and abandon the set-apart covenant, submitted to Gentile rules as willing slaves of impiety. Now, do not we have the same thing going on today? It said disguise their circumcision. How do people disguise their circumcision today? Because when you read this, you're not careful, you'll overthink things.
Stop keeping the Torah.
You blend in. You, I think you, what's the word? I forgot. Basically, in your house, you praying when you amongst the rest. You like, yeah, Christmas time, like you.
Well, I like that. I like that. Stay right there. I'm coming back to you. I like that. Go ahead.
Could it be that their heart is no longer circumcised and they're no longer sensitive to the laws, statutes, and commandments of Torah?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because you're looking at a fleshly thing, but because we're in what? We're not in Egypt anymore, but we're in a spiritual what? Egypt. So when it comes to scouting your circumcision, what was the purpose of circumcision in the first place? Say it again.
Covenant. It was a sign of the covenant.
It was a sign of the covenant. So if you have a people now who are of the people of what? The covenant, now they're no longer what? Remember the covenant. They don't even know they're the people of the covenant.
Hellenistic.
They're Hellenistic, so they don't even know the importance of what? Circumcision. They don't even know the importance of circumcision. Even though it's very few of us as black men that don't get circumcised. It's very few black mothers that don't circumcise their sons of our people. When I say very few, it's very few. But even with that, them doing that, they still don't know what? They still don't know the meaning, they don't know who they are. So they have something of importance, but what? It's not acknowledged because they don't know. So now your circumcision will be what? Disguised. Because you have it, you don't recognize it. Now, they had it, but they didn't want it. So now what you do what? You conceal it.
Yeah,
You hide it.
It's like a sign of the covenant that they're disguising now, that they hide. They don't want to be part of the covenant anymore. Because basically, like the ring is a sign of a marriage.
Right.
So the circumcision is a sign of the covenant. So
It's a sign of covenant. Because that's where you cut the foreskin. Because when you have what happens in the covenant? Flesh is cut.
Right.
Flesh is cut.
If they hide it to blend in, they gonna hide it from their kids and
Yes.
on and on and on all the way on down.
And pretty much right now, sometimes we have to hide it to blend in. Because let me tell you something. When it comes to a lot of things in this system, because you are Yashra'al, and because there's a power that claims to be Yashra'al, who have been instituted and set up by what? This same Babylonian system, if you don't pretty much identify with them, a lot of times it's hard to get things done. You go on your job, times you want to take off for Passover if you want to. You have to tell them that, well, look, you got a letter from your rabbi. I'm telling y'all what I know.
I did.
You got a letter from your rabbi? Y'all remember Brother Yahuah that came here? About a couple weeks ago, his car broke down. Now he lives down in Conyers. Did you immerse him more? You and Lamont, or?
He was here a couple of weeks ago.
About 3 weeks ago. He's down in Conyers with Obadiah. He lives on that end. He's from Columbus, where I'm from.
I just see his face.
Anyway, he lost his job. He was going back and forth with these people for like months and months and months at a time. And he finally had to go convince, he begged this rabbi to allow him to come to his assembly for a while, because that's the only way he can get that letter from an official rabbi. They didn't want to hear anything about Yashra'al, and we keep, no, they wanted official documentation from a rabbi. Jewish rabbi.
How did he lose his job still? They said no.
But until he got it, he started taking the days anyway.
They were supposed to give him that day anyway, according to the law.
Yeah, but you know what you said? They were supposed to give him that day anyway according to what?
The law.
According to the law. But the thing is, here in the United States of America, and I want y'all to hear me good, they have what is called recognized religions. First of all, I was just our culture that we're embracing. But because of that, because what we do is not a religion, that's why they have to do these things. It's easy for a Muslim to get off. It's easy for a Christian to get off. It's easy for a Jewish person to get off. These are recognized religions. And this is why a lot of time on the job, they go say, oh yeah, you Jewish? Be like, yeah. Hey, you know, hey. And this is what happened. So, and abandoned the set apart covenant. So I ain't got to go even talk about that. Y'all know we've done. I'm not saying we are, but from the nation of Yahusha. And submitting to Gentile rules as willing slaves of impiety. It said, once Antiochus had seen his authority established, he determined to make himself what? King of Egypt or Mizraim, and the ruler of both kingdoms. He invaded Mizraim and massive strength with chariots and elephants and cavalry and a large fleet. He engaged Ptolemy, or really Ptolemy, king of Mizraim, in battle. It said, and Ptolemy turned back and what? Fled before his advance, leaving many casualties. They fortified what cities of Mizraim, were captured, and Antiochus plundered the country. It is that at his conquest of Mizraim in the year 143, Antiochus turned himself about and advanced on Israel and Jerusalem in what? Massive strength. Now, he advanced on Yashra'al and Jerusalem in massive strength. It says, breaking into the sanctuary, he removed the golden altar and the lampstand for the light with all its fittings, together with the table for the loaves of permanent offerings, the libation vessel, the cups, the golden censers, the veil, the crowns, and the golden decoration on the front of the temple, which he had stripped of everything. He made off with the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. He discovered the secret treasures and seized them. And removing all these, he went back to his own country, having shed much blood and other words of extreme arrogance. There was deep mourning for Yashra'al throughout the country. Now, all of these things that were taken by Antiochus, what position did that put Yashra'al in? This list of items that were taken, what would they no longer be able to do?
The ceremony, the temple ceremony.
This temple ceremony, the what?
Sacrifice.
The sacrifice. So,
The priesthood could not act.
So-
What they're supposed to do.
right, so what you see is all of the temple services and things, they would no longer be able to do these things. Because they can only do it with what? Those things. Okay, now let's jump back over to Daniel 8. Daniel 8. And we're going to start at 25. You got that, you kids?
Daniel 8:25.
Day 8 and 25. So just start at 25. Read that.
Daniel 8:25. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Wherefore shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. Afterward I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it.
Read 25 again.
And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand.
Stop right there. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Who's also going to do the same thing?
Antichrist, anti-Mashiyach.
Anti-Mashiyach. Anti-Mashiyach shall do the exact same thing. Read 29 out.
29. Then I go to 27.
Yeah.
27.
Uh,
And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. Afterward I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it.
He was astonished at the vision, none understood it. Okay, let's go to back up to 8 and 11.
Daniel 8 and 11.
11 and 12.
Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. And an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered.
Okay then. So what we see here, he calls what? He calls the daily what? Sacrifices to stop. And Antiochus Epiphanes stopped the daily sacrifice in the temple, and it was in the year 168 BC. This is when the abomination of desolation was done by Antiochus Epiphanes. Now, we saw when that happened. But we learned last week that there was scriptures that we saw when that took place in the past. That had already happened. But then we read again in Matthew, and we was talking about this would take place what? Again or in the future? Okay. Let us go to Daniel 11 right quick. Daniel 11 and 31. You got it, Koti? Shema.
Yes.
Daniel 11 and 31, 32 and 33.
Daniel 11:31. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt thy flatteries. But the people that do know their Elohim shall be strong and do exploits. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many. Yet they shall fall by the sword and by the flame, by captivity and by spoil many days.
Okay. Now, let's go to Matthew 24 and 15. Matthew 24 and 15 and 16.
Matthew 24, 15, 16. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whosoever read, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains.
Okay then. So, we see in Yahuah, Matthew, we have Mashiyach speaking here. He's speaking of something that what? Daniel spoke of. Remember that had already took place with Antiochus Epiphanes. Now he's speaking of another event. He said, when you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand ye in a set apart place. Whosoever read, or whoso reads, let him understand. Then let him which be in Judea flee into the mountains. We see here he's talking of a future event. Just as it was during the time of what? Daniel's prophecy, we see there will be talking about another who? Antiochus in the future. You're going to have the same event take place again. But you notice how even Mashiyach, he still referred to something about Daniel, something would happen to the Greeks. It was the Greeks ruling during that time. And this is why I kept telling y'all, it was not just a coincidence that you read about all of these people in your Bible, or there's 66 books that make up the canon that you have. And you read about everybody and it left the Greeks out. How? How can you read about all of these kingdoms and there were almost not a more dominant kingdom than the Greeks? When they, when the Greeks came on the scene, wickedness went throughout the earth. And you don't have anything in your canon about the Greeks? That was purposely done. For one reason. It keeps you from identifying with who you are, so you won't even know what you need to do and the place you need to stand during these times, during the last days. Because they got you thinking you everybody else, but the people that who's affected more so by this than anybody else. So let's go to 2 Thessalonians right quick. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3. Second Thessalonians verse 2, 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, verse 3. You got that, shall I cover?
Yep. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall come, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition.
It's to let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there be a falling away first, and that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. So, he speaks of a falling away here. What people would he be talking about? Where would the falling away take place?
Jacob told Yashra'al.
Yashra'al. He's not concerned about what happened with the nation. He's concerned about Yashra'al. And can't you all see a falling away taking place?
Mm-hmm.
You had brothers and sisters that started out strong with you believing in Yahusha. Now all of a sudden they got to eat on some old nasty table. Now all of a sudden they're going to tell you that he was fictional, he didn't exist. You got people that started out strong in this walk. And then they end up going back and carrying their cross. Going back to Christianity. They started off strong. Mashiyach said like a dog returning back to his vomit.
Mm-hmm.
He said, except there be a what? A falling away first. The falling away takes place within Yashra'al. Because we start, as a pt3 course, we say sometimes start doing the most. We get too busy. We just all on YouTube, just listening to everything. All on not debate talks. What's some of the blog talks?
All of Instagram.
Instagram and blog talk, radio, internet comes to these other forums and stuff. And you start picking up all this debris. Yeah. Now all of a sudden, you've lost your foundation. You're not sure in what you believe. Y'all would not believe how many phone calls I get. People question me about the validity of Mashiyach. I'm talking about people in the walk and been in it for a while. And I'm like, a pt3. I'm like, you kidding, right? Because I know you know better. I know you sat under many of these teachers. And I can go to, from your conversation, I can tell where you've been. And that's what we tell y'all. Stay off of all these platforms and these forums and stuff. These people with all that madness. Because I tell people, it's impossible for you to understand Torah if you say you don't believe in Mashiyach. The first thing I know when a person tell me they don't believe in Mashiyach, I said, wow. I said they had a bad upbringing. Nobody ever taught them about Torah. He's the walking Torah. He's the living Torah. You cannot get around it. So he said, unless there be a falling away first. And a lot of times, let me tell y'all something. You have to be careful of your mindset and your heart. Because let me tell y'all something. Just because you in this room, that don't mean you're in here. A lot of people have, they'll come up and sit in assemblies and stuff, but their hearts are far from it. They're just too ashamed to leave. They're too ashamed to walk away. But they have doubt and unbelief. And this is the thing we have to be careful of. And that's why I keep telling people, in this day and in this hour, if there's something in you and it's not drawing you closer to the fold, and you find yourself drifting away from the flock, you might want to check yourself out and just ask the Most High, do you really have what you think you have? You know, because he said, hey, he said 2/3 of my people should be cut off. And that's why I tell y'all, I hate to break it down like that. I do it all the time. So for every 3 you see, one don't make it. I mean, what? 2 don't make it. Not saying that that's the case in here, but I'm just saying in general, that's how it works out. So when you see these things, you ought to have a mindset now. Everything in you should be telling you, I need to be closer to my brothers and sisters, be closer to the congregation. Because let me tell you something, we draw our strength from one another, or from each other. We draw our strength from each other. And I don't care how set apart you might think you might be. Let me tell you something. You need us. I need us. I need y'all. And that's the way it works. We need each other. And so with these things, you know what? We keep reading all of this stuff. Now, it might seem like I'm just all over, but no, I'm not. I'm talking to somebody. Let me tell y'all something. We see all of these warning signs. Everything we've been reading, he's been giving us warning. He's telling us what to look for. He's telling us what's going to happen. But you don't find it strange that he said, let those that, be in Jerusalem, let what, flee into the mountains? In one scripture we read, we said, two will be on the rooftop, he said, something like that. When they come down, he said, don't even go get nothing. Don't even go back to get nothing. Right. Flee.
I got it right here.
Read it from out. Whatever it's saying.
We were just there. Well, yeah, we were just there. We were just there. Try to race me to it, okay? I got it. It says, I got it, okay? It says,
where that go?
24, 16, 17?
I was in the 22. Yes, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe to them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Shabbat day.
So, with this right here being said, if these are the instructions given them, what's the expectancy of the people that he's giving these instructions? If he's telling them not to do these things, and he's telling them to flee instantly, what's his expectation of those people?
A sense of urgency.
It's a sense of urgency, and guess what? If somebody's telling you to flee at the moment or instantaneous like that, they already expect you to have what? Something already prepared.
That's right.
But that's the one thing with the nation of Yashra'al. We do not believe in preparation.
And we are.
We do not believe in preparation.
Late to everything.
But what I'm trying to get is, we should be reading these scriptures and things, thank y'all, and not saying these things. Let me tell y'all something. I know the Most High going to deliver Yashra'al. And I know He going to bring us out of these lands and carry us into our own land. But while we're here, we don't know how long that's going to take Him to do it. We don't know when He's going to do it. But while we're here, we need to be prepared. I keep telling y'all, we need to be prepared. I keep talking to Mashiyach. I said, I don't know about congregation Yashra'al, where that mindset at. But you're Mashiyach. It's my duty to make sure you what? Protected. You're safe. Make sure your stomach is not touching your spine because you ain't got to eat. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to prepare. Because as a husband or an ish, it's my duty to make sure she's looked after and taken care of. And that's for all of us. Don't you know there should be no reason if something catastrophic take place with this nation in America, and all of a sudden, y'all got to give you an example. What happens when we get 5 or 6 inches of snow?
Everything shut down.
Okay, first of all, everything shut down. So, say that again.
Take the bread off the shelf.
You can't find nothing on the shelves in the grocery store.
Right.
And that's just from 5 inches of snow. So just imagine if something catastrophic happened, or something that, we keep playing, we don't think this economy is going to collapse or fall.
Oh, yes we do. We in here.
I tell you what, it's about this far from the ground. You know what I mean? So look at this. So when that happens, what's your position?
Oh, yeah.
Come to your house. I heard the next thing.
Y'all been
I heard the next thing. That's what I said.
Y'all been talking for it. And all this sounds comfortable. I'm glad we can laugh about it. But we really need to be seriously thinking about this.
Right.
Because we should not be in a position as the nation of Yashra'al. And so we're not even talking about some anti-Mashiyach in the mark of the beast and nothing like that. It doesn't take that for you to need to have things in order and be prepared for something. We've been reading in the scripture too much about that. How's it that we were slaves down in Egypt, and before we were slaves, we were in the same position we were here right here in this Egypt. We can have our own land. Our people were prosperous in Goshen. Very prosperous. It should be the same way in this Egypt. But because we've forgotten who we are, and we're so caught up in these systems, but you cannot just wake up and just be caught up with, I'm Yashra'al. You have to realize your surroundings, realize, you know what? I'm still captive here. I'm in this system, but then he said, be separated, separate yourselves from the nation. That's what we have to do. When we separate, we have to be able to come together. We might not all be in the same house, but we can all have a rallying point. When times get hard, we need to go here. We know our survival is here. Our resources are here. We network to make sure everybody can get here or to this place. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Now, I can keep talking. So, with that being said, we need to